Well, just like after last year's Smokies trip, I decided I should cover the gear that I used on my Rockies excursion this time. So rather than go through everything and take it out of the pack, I wanted to save some time and just cover those things that have basically changed. I'm still using the Go Light Pinnacle, and I explained why I got that last time, I believe. But as you can see, I no longer have the foam back pad in there. I removed that. Out of the inside, I removed the hydration bladder sleeve with a seam ripper and the little hook that held the bladder upright. And I cut off a bunch of straps. I cut off the load lifter straps, cut those down, cut the sternum strap down shorter, cut these straps down shorter, and cut down my hip pad straps to a shorter length. I did not cut the top one, because sometimes if it's fully packed it actually uses nearly the entire length of that. Nor did I cut the side compression straps, because they can be unhooked and wrapped all the way around to the other side, and I didn't know if at some point that I would ever use that or not. So I went ahead and left those, and they can go like that. So at the cost of basically nothing, just 15-20 minutes, the hardest was seam ripping out that hydration bladder, which a lot of people just take scissors and cut it as close as they can. But I saved basically 6 ounces with all that. So it was now just a hair over 28 ounces instead of the 34 it was last year. Because I took out that pad, the back pad, I now have this blue foam half-inch, basically about 52 inches long, that I roll up in a burrito style and stuff in there, and that becomes the foundation for the pack. And everything else goes inside, the rolled up foam pad there. I went to that, I dropped the little sit pad, had 10-inch by 20-inch sit pad that got folded over for about a 10 by 10 square. I did that because I went from a Campmore version of a Pacific Outdoor Equipment X-Lite Thermo to the Thermarest Neo Air small version, which I think is like 49 inches. So this is just a wee bit longer than that to add some extra protection and some insulation. The Neo Air, unless you get it on a really good deal, they're pretty expensive. So they're a lot more expensive than most of the inflatable pads nowadays. I got this one used from somebody, for $80. So that was a pretty good deal actually, because they normally run about $120. I also went from using, I still have it, but the 6 Moon Designs Lunar Duo I did not take, since it was just going to be me and I wanted to save as much weight as possible, and I didn't have any other really lightweight tent, so I wanted to make my own. So this is my own version, which I'll talk about a little bit later, but all told, with everything, including this heavy Campmore stuff sack that my old pad came in, it is just under 22 ounces. We'll talk about that later. The dry ducks actually gained me a little weight. I was using a poncho, or did take a poncho, I never had to use it, but had a poncho last time. These add about 1.6 ounces to the weight that I had with that poncho. But the reasons I went with that are basically twofold. One, they will keep you drier, because they're full coverage, whereas ponchos you have obviously all the holes down the side and whatnot. So that was one consideration. The other consideration was that I was going to use those as my wind shirt and wind pants if I needed them. And because I went with these also, I was able to drop the lightweight jacket, so I actually did lose weight going with these, and they're cheap. They're $15 to $20, and depending on if you get it at eBay or go to something like Gander Mountain or Dick's Sporting Goods, whatever. So they're very cheap. The only real downside is they're somewhat fragile. you know, I didn't have any problems going through, you know, the bear brush and things like that. You know, we didn't do a whole lot of places off trail where it was, you know, a lot of sticks sticking out, but I never tore them at all, so, you know, they hold up well enough unless you're going to be doing a lot of off-trail work. You know, so for rainwear, I'd highly recommend the dry ducks, and they can, even though they're not as ideal as a wind shirt, you know, they can substitute in that regard. Because I was in the mountains again, you know, temperatures can get down into the 20s even, you know, any time of year, and you never really know what to expect. So I had to take some insulating clothing. This is just the Mountain Hardwear beanie. And I have some Mountain Hardwear lightweight gloves, also in a pair of heavyweight ones to have some kind of leather type material in the palms and on a couple of the fingertips. Those weren't too expensive. I don't remember how much they were exactly, but you know, it's like maybe 10-15 bucks for the two of them. Have some backpacking light cocoon pants with the Polar Guard Delta insulation. Now these were more expensive. You pay to get the lightweight stuff in general. You know, I tried to avoid that. These I got at almost half price. You know, for about roughly $100, again used from another member. But they work out really well and are very lightweight. I was blessed to get a really good deal on the New Balance Fugu jacket. These are 10.7 ounces, by the way, for size medium. The medium in the Fugu is 13.3. I got this for only $120. You know, so it was less than half price. You know, the normal cost it had been. Very, very warm. You know, almost too warm in a lot of places. Probably would have been too warm up there for where I was. I've actually worn this here in Indiana in the wintertime when it was 0 degrees out with just a t-shirt underneath it, and that was perfectly fine. You know, as long as there's no wind blowing, then you'd want, you know, some type of outer layer to prevent the convection. But that was very helpful. This time I did not take any underwear. I really didn't use it last time in the Smokies either, only when I was in the shelters. You know, and I might possibly have to change in front of other people. That was the only time I actually did go commando. But this time I knew we were just going to be on our own, so it didn't matter. So I just dropped that. I only took 2 pair of socks instead of the 4 pair because I wasn't testing to see which kinds of socks I liked. You know, so I had the Ingenie performance socks that I hiked in, and the Bridgedale lightweight hiking socks that I slept in. So just 2 pairs. For the shirts, I gained a little weight. The hiking shirt that I used last year became my sleeping shirt, the Champion Duo Dry long sleeve. Then I went with the Rail Riders Adventure shirt, you know, which is 7.9 ounces and size medium. Again, it's a nylon shirt versus the polyester that the other one was. So that was partially to protect against mosquitoes and provide a little better sun protection, and a little tighter weave. And I also ended up coating all my hiking clothing, exterior hiking clothing, in permethrin, a concentrated solution of permethrin from Carpenter Ant Killer, as it turns out. And that also helped protect against the mosquitoes and whatnot. But this worked out really well. It's pretty tough. You know, I snagged it a couple times, you know, on this mesh part right here on the arms. You know, and it's held up really well. As far as pants, and this was somewhere, seemed like I got it on sale for like $35. But you can get, you know, nylon shirts, you know, obviously cheaper than that. They're just going to be a little bit heavier perhaps.